Welcome back to Justin's Joint, where tonight we're going to go on a little trip around the world. Well, North America anyway. Stay tuned. Alright guys, welcome back to Justin's Joint. Tonight in the pipe, we've got some Red Rapparee by Rattray. Delicious stuff, which I have now let go out. And in the cup here, you will see me sipping a little bit of brandy to go along with it. It's good stuff. That's the limit of the pipe tobacco and alcohol talk for this video, because this video is about bridges. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I'm a draftsman, and more specifically, I'm a draftsman that prepares drawings and models for bridges. And after 20 years, I looked at my Google Earth, where I keep a pin of all my projects, and I realized that I've got a lot. Kind of makes me feel good that, you know, I'm making my mark on the world in a different kind of way than most people do, I guess. But there's a lot of them, and I thought, what better way to kind of commemorate 20 years than to share it with you guys? As if you wanted to know that stuff. But nonetheless, we're here. This is the video. So if you're not into bridges or knowing what your old buddy Justin here does for a living, you can click away now. Otherwise, we're going to continue. Okay, before we get started, I need to let you know this is going to be a 3-part series, because I've worked at 3 different companies, and trying to cram all of this crap into one video would make for like an hour-long video. And I know you guys might be interested in bridges, but you're not that interested in bridges, so we're gonna break it up. Don't worry, I got you covered. So let's just jump right into it. Okay guys, so bridge number 1. We're not gonna go into terribly much detail. If you want to know anything more about these bridges, well, then you can look it up yourself. You've got Google, you've got the internet, you're watching me on the internet. So bridge number 1 is in Aspen, Colorado, and it is the Maroon Creek Bridge. This bridge is kind of interesting in the fact that it's one of the few segmental concrete bridges that I know of in Colorado. I mean, there's a few, but not just a whole lot. And this one is kind of interesting in the fact that it's right at the entrance of Aspen, Colorado. So, you know, there's been some pretty famous people driving across this hog, if you know what I mean. Anyway, I had a limited role in this bridge. I helped out with some of the abutment stuff, I think. Maybe helped out with a couple of the segment drawings in some fashion. I was busy working on another bridge when this one was going on, though, so my role was fairly limited, but still, I worked on it enough to claim it. So there you are, bridge number 1. If you've ever been to Aspen, Colorado, and you drove across this bridge, well then, guess what? You can think about me. Bridge number 2 is the Woodrow Wilson Bridge. This is outside of, I believe, Washington, D.C., This crosses the border between Maryland and Virginia, and this was actually one of the very first bridges that I worked on when I started doing this back in 2001. This bridge is an interesting bridge in the fact that it has segmental V-shaped pier columns, and that's what I worked on for this bridge. And what I'm going to try to do is find a good place where we can get a nice view of this bridge. And here you have it, the Woodrow Wilson Bridge. Now, my involvement was in shop drawing production for the segments that make up these V piers, which, you know, it was a pretty simple thing at the time. They didn't have me doing anything too hair-raising because I was brand new, straight out of drafting school. But still, it was interesting enough that I got kind of hooked. Now, the interesting thing about this bridge is that it has a bascule section, which is right here, which means that the bridge deck, like, opens up so boats can go under it. Kind of a cool little deal. Moving on, next bridge. Bridge number 3 is the Siebenthaler Bridge in Ohio. I think it's in Siebenthaler, Ohio? No. Siebenthaler Avenue. I believe this is like the street, but this is kind of a cool little bridge. This is, again, another one of the very early bridges that I worked on. And this bridge is interesting in the fact that it has these arches that support it. There's 4 arches that run underneath the bridge that supports the deck. And something interesting is that I believe somebody was in a boat and had a Google Street View thing on their boat, so you can kind of get a good view from the river of the Siebenthaler Bridge. Again, it's just kind of a run-of-the-mill bridge from the top side, and, you know, all things considered, it's just a bunch of girders that are spliced together with this arch support in the middle. It's kind of a cool bridge. If you've ever been I think this is outside of like Dayton or somewhere, Ohio, and you've been across this bridge or you've been under this bridge, I think there's like a walking path under it. There you go. Next bridge. Number 4 is the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. This is in the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. Yes, so there's this like people mover train, right, that runs all the way around it. Now, I think it's been worked on and added on to since I originally worked on this. But what I did, again, it was some segmental pier columns, I believe. Let's see if I can find a good shot of one. So if you look like right here, you can see these pier columns that hold it up. They actually were concrete segments that were just kind of stacked up like Legos and post-tensioned together. And yep, that was what I was doing. Once again, it was shop drawings for post-tension and dimensions. Simple stuff, because again, this is very early in my career. But yeah, I claim it. It's one of mine. It's one of my babies. One of these days I'd like to go take a ride on this people mover here, but you know, that's for future stuff. Next bridge. Okay, this next bridge is actually one of my proudest moments. Again, this was actually fairly early in my career, but you know, once I got the hang of things, I caught on pretty quick. I wound up doing a lot of work on this bridge. And actually, it's not one bridge, it's a series of bridges. And something that actually made me feel really proud is that this particular interchange, the High Five interchange in Dallas, Texas, was featured on a little show you may or may not have heard about called Modern Marvels. It kind of blew my mind when I saw that. I used to be a huge History Channel fan. Not so much anymore, since they don't really talk about history and all that crap anymore. But again, this bridge here, this group of bridges, is a bunch of segmental bridges, basically, that just kind of interchange these highways. I don't even remember what highways they are. But my involvement in this was the shop drawing production for all of these segments, and not just dimensions and post-tensioning. We're talking the rebar, the whole shooting match. It was all done in part by me, and actually once we got headlong into it, the guy that was working with me, he got deported. So the latter parts of the project were done pretty much by yours truly, which is kind of cool. So, you know, again, one of these days I would like to drive through this interchange, and I'll do a street view just to kind of give you an idea of how immense this thing is. I mean, we're talking, this is a big interchange. These bridges that are up here, you wouldn't want to fall off the edge. You know, and it's all this segmental concrete structure, so you get these really sleek, you know, parabolic haunch looking things. It's just makes my heart go pitter-patter every time I see it. Anyway, next bridge. So the next one is in the Bay Area. So again, this is kind of sort of like the Maroon Creek Bridge. I had a very limited involvement in this because I was busy working on another bridge, but I did help out with this one. So this is the San Francisco Oakland Bay Bridge. Now, you might know this bridge by the fact that it's this self-supported suspension bridge. I didn't work on that part. So what we have over here is this really long segmental approach. This is all segmental concrete, and underneath, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to see it, but it's not like a typical segmental, box shape, with kind of a box and some wings on the side. They actually had panels to make the thing look sleek. I suspect it was probably for, I don't know, wind something or another to keep the thing from vibrating too much. Let's see if we can get a nice shot underneath. Probably not. No, we're not. Let's see what this is. Probably not going to be able to see much, but Jay, we'll see something here. Yeah, so right here you can see it's another nice sleek set of just segmental spans. And yeah, there you go. San Francisco Oakland Bay Bridge. Next bridge. Okay, so you know how I've said I was busy working on a different bridge for the Maroon Creek and the San Francisco Oakland Bay Bridge. This is it. I spent a year and a half in a hotel working out of a trailer, like right in this parking lot right here. This is the Benicia Martinez Bridge. Again, it's in the Bay Area between Benicia and Martinez, California. Surprise! Now, my involvement in this project was this span right here. So this bridge is actually a segmental bridge. The end span was cast in place because, the whole thing kind of just splits and gets all hairy. You can't really do that in segmental concrete. But that was what I was working on for a good year and a half. I think it was like from here clear out to, let's just say, here. Let's see if we can get a street view of this bad boy. And there she be. Yes, sirree, Bob. So I did the part starting at this pier here, all the way back to this pier here. And if any of you are in the Bay Area and you've been where this shot was taken, you might think, what is this little nub for? And trust me, that thing was a pain in my ass. But this bridge was actually designed with certain things in mind. Like, for instance, it was designed to carry the BART. A lot of you may or may not know that, and the BART may or may not ever go on this, but it was designed for that, and as I recall, that's what that's for. There's something in there for that. And then, there's like sleeves and stuff that go through the deck so they could attach rails and stuff. But yeah, so this is, again, another big, long segmental concrete bridge. Very proud of this one. This is, again, it's a really good-looking bridge. Replaced an old truss bridge, which is over here, which is still in use. I mean, it's a functioning bridge. It's just, they needed something more, and there you go. Next bridge. Okay, so for this one, we got to go up to Canada, eh? And I honestly don't really remember a whole lot about this. This was like a bunch of like bridges along a roadway. So I think it was maybe like these two bridges and this bridge, these two bridges here. There was just a handful of just run-of-the-mill bridges that we did. I don't remember exactly which ones because this was not... I was used to high-profile projects, and this was, like, not that. And so I really kind of wasn't too thrilled to work on this, honestly. And so I really didn't pay very much attention to where things were, what was going on. But we got her done, and there it is. The next bridge is also in Canada, and it was also kind of the same way. This is Northeast Anthony Henday Drive in Edmonton. Let's see what we got here. This is actually the first time I've looked at this crap in a really long time. Yes, I believe it was like these bridges here that kind of cross over like this, I believe, were the bridges that I was working on. Again, they were just kind of standard run-of-the-mill girder bridges, nothing fancy. So, there you go, though. If you've driven across these, I touched your life. Touched your life. Next bridge. Okay, for the next bridge, we're gonna go to Utah. Now, this was all done for the Front Runner. No. This was not the Front Runner project. This was Pioneer Crossing. If you're from Salt Lake City area, and you may or may not know what Pioneer Crossing is. I guess it's like it was a extension of a road. It may be a toll road, I don't know. But I did this box culvert thing. Again, not very high profile, not very interesting. The bridge that I worked on the most was this one at Mill Pond Road, I think is what it is. Crosses some railroad tracks. Now this bridge, it is just a straight up girder bridge, but the interesting thing about this is that there's a frickin' intersection on top of it. Most bridges have a road that goes over it one direction. Well, this one has an intersection right on the top, so this thing was a pain in the neck. Like you can see here, you got this bridge, goes over some railroad tracks and an intersection right on top of it. Let me tell you, that caused a lot of brain damage to your old buddy Justin. But we got her done. I can't say I didn't enjoy it. I was, working with a good team of engineers, so it was cool. And the next one, I didn't really work on that much, but I put it in here just because it's part of the project and it's interesting, is the Diverging Diamond Interchange. I don't think this was the first Diverging Diamond Interchange in the country, but it was like the second. Maybe it was something. I don't know, but the interesting thing about this bridge is that they actually built the bridge over here, and then they used these big, massive, moving things and drove it out down the highway and set the whole thing down. I think they set these bridges in like a weekend. It was something crazy like that. So it was kind of an interesting project just to kind of, be involved with. I don't know. Next bridge. So the next bridge actually is not a bridge. The next project is the Hanging Lake Tunnels just outside of Glenwood Springs, Colorado. Now, I did not design these. I was probably not born yet when they designed these. Maybe I was born, but I was definitely a little kid. Now, what I did do is I got to go inspect these tunnels, which was kind of an interesting thing. You don't really realize when you drive through this how big of a complex this is. It's huge. There's halfway, it's actually a little less than halfway. So here's the one entrance to the tunnels, and then it pops out. Let's see if I can find where it pops out at. There's I-70 right here. So it comes out right here, and you go in right here, and right here you can see there's this building looking thing. Now this actually is the central complex. CDOT has actually like a massive like headquarters. They've got, it looks like from a James Bond movie. You go in and there's like screens on a wall, and there's a big desk, in there where you could sit and just be like, that's what it looks like legit. It was kind of cool. But it's a big complex, and the thing is like, I don't know, 7 or 8 stories underground. And in addition to that, they've got the fans, the big fans that they use if a fire happens that kick on and exhaust all the smoke. The fan exhaust is like right here. So, the whole thing was an interesting thing. You don't really realize, like I said, when you drive through these things, just how immense these things are. But we were inspecting it because many years ago, this rock face fell off. Like, it just collapsed right down onto the roof of the structure here, and it caused a lot of damage. You'll have to look at that. It caused a lot of damage.
Now that's a lot of damage!
And they had to fix it, and once they fixed it, they decided they needed to inspect it periodically. So that's what we were there for, and it was a good 2 weeks out in Glenwood Springs, just kind of hanging out in a tunnel, listening to the cows mooing as trucks drove them through the tunnel. Fact check, true, that actually happens. Yeah, so that was that. Next bridge. All right, for this bridge, we're headed to the Minneapolis area. This is the Hastings Bridge, and here you can see it is actually still under construction. I think that this bridge has since been finished let's go to Street View and just see if we can get a look. And yes, there it is. So this bridge is it's like a basket handle tied arch looking thing that supports the main span. The part that I was involved with was not that. It was let's see, right here, I believe, at the end, there's like this big post-tensioned, maybe is that it? It's been so long I can't remember. But there was a big complicated post-tensioning area where you had some post-tensioning coming this way and some post-tensioning coming this way that had to kind of duck down through it. It was a big spaghetti mess, so we actually modeled that up in 3D. This is kind of one of the first jobs where I actually got away with 3D modeling stuff at work, because back in those days 3D modeling was cool, but it was kind of like quit messing around and get back to work kind of a thing, until we started doing this stuff where it just showed how completely invaluable it is to have a 3D model to show without a doubt. It's like a picture. It's like, yes, this works, and here you go. This is how you're gonna do it. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, so there you go. Let's see if I can find a better picture. Let's shut off 3D buildings and see if we can see. Yeah, so here you can kind of sort of get a sense for what this bridge looks like when I turn off the 3D buildings. This is a more recent photo, but there you go. Next bridge. All right, so the next bridge is also in Minneapolis, and it is the Lafayette Bridge. Now, this bridge was an interesting structure in the fact that it's got some kind of interesting piers, and let's just see if we can get down in the river and have a look here. Oh, hey, so we were just like hanging out on somebody's boat. We're like, hey, man, I'll drink to that. I didn't realize that like Street View actually did this, where they just like let some rando get on their boat and do it. But hey, here we are. So this bridge here, my involvement was the reinforcing and dimensions of these pier columns here, I guess is what you'd call them. They're like these Y-shaped columns. Let me tell you, that was interesting, because these were a nightmare to dimension. They were a nightmare to reinforce, just because they're regular shapes that they are. I mean, they look cool now that I'm looking at them. You know, I haven't really actually looked at this bridge since I don't think I've ever looked. This is probably the first time I'm laying eyes on this. It actually looks pretty nice. I'll tell you that the first time I saw the preliminary drawings for this, it took me a minute to figure out what in the heck was going on. Now, the one thing that I will tell you was one of the bigger pains in the neck was these little pieces here, which I always thought were kind of stupid looking. You know, we got these little fingers that stick up, and they're really just so slender that I always was like, man, these things are just gonna break off. But, you know, I don't know. I guess they look okay. I think it would look better if they weren't there. But hey, you know, it was part of the package, so that's what we did. That leaves us with one more bridge from my first company, so let's just get right to it. And this bridge is actually a bridge that hasn't happened yet, and I don't know if it's ever actually going to happen. And this is the California high-speed train, I think is what they call it. And there was going to be a iconic structure that was put up like here somewhere. I don't remember exactly where it was going to go. But it was going to cross over here, maybe like this way, I think. I don't even know. It may or may not ever happen. Who knows? I know that they spent a lot of money on it, and then like nothing ever happened. But it was cool. We put together a bunch of 3D models of various different options. You know, like I think there was a suspension option and a arch type of an option. A cable stay, I think, was one of the options. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna have to go see if I can find any of that stuff. Ah, yes. Here we go. Let me just drag this bad boy over, and we will see. All right, so here is the model plural that I created. This one was kind of a through truss option that we put together. So what happened? I didn't do the renderings here. I just created the model and sent it to the rendering groups, and they put it in the background. But it's kind of an interesting looking bridge where, you know, it's kind of a through truss. You got the train flowing through here, which is kind of cool. Here's another view of that guy. Another view of that guy. Let's see if I can find. Here we've got just a kind of a segmental looking bridge with some big, looks like straddle piers here. Man, those things are honking massive. Didn't remember that. Here is a cable stayed version of that bridge. And then another cable stayed version of that bridge. So again, and here was the tied arch version. It was like a single arch. And then we also had two arches, a two arch version. That was kind of cool. And I don't remember what this was. This was kind of another cable stay-ish. I think that you can't really see them, but there was like, you got these like boomerang looking things that had cables hanging straight down off it that supported the deck or something like that. Totally out of this world. I didn't know, you wouldn't ever do that. And then you had this clunky looking truss. And then there's this guy, the brassiere version. I like to call this the brassiere bridge because it looks like a bra. Anyway, that's it for the bridges from company number 1 that I worked for. And yeah, we'll have to make another version or another video, another installment of the Bridges of Justin's Joint coming up real soon. But until then, I will see you guys later. Hopefully you guys got some good tobacco to smoke, kind of like me. And until then, we'll see you guys later.